Welcome to Bonifabcustom. Today we're designing and building a knife, a survival knife, that's unlike any other design I've ever done. Let's get right into it. So to start off this project, we need some material. So what I'm gonna do is, I already have a piece of 25 layer forge welded Damascus out of 15N20 and 1095. So I'm gonna take this material and I'm gonna put it on my CNC machine and we're gonna cut some grooves in it, and then that's gonna cause it to have a ladder pattern to occur in the Damascus. Then we're gonna take it on to our forging press, heat it up, and we will forge out a knife blade. Let's get into that. So for this survival knife, I'm going to cut off all the scale with the end mill by just putting it into two vices just like this. I'll clean up one side, the other side, flip it around and do the same, and then I can surface grind the whole thing. So now it's milled, rough milled, and you can see the ladder pattern in there. And what we're going to do now is grind it on the surface grinder just to make a real parallel surface and thickness, and then I can cut it on the CNC. So like I said, I never designed a knife quite like this one before, with its shark-like teeth. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to program it on my CNC. So the first thing I got to do is design it with CAD because of its complex geometry, and I'm going to cut it on 3D also on my CNC machine. So let's get into the design. I can make a CAD file and then we can machine it. So now I set up the parts, or the blank, the knife blank, in two vices here so it supports it a lot better. And I put some parallels underneath and it's sticking above the jaws. And I set up my 3/16 tool. That's what I'm going to be using to cut the profile and those cutouts. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to do a run about 10 thou all the way around to kind of show the outline of the profile just to make sure that I'm in the right spot. I don't want to screw up this billet or this knife blank. Then it's going to cut those pockets out, and then we're going to use those pockets as reference also to machine the rest of the part. Cutouts are done, and the profile, and you can see here there's kind of a double profile there because I had to move it back a bit more because it wasn't cleaning up, but it's only 5 thou deep. So that's going to give us a good reference to the outside of the knife. Now I'm going to probably grind it top and bottom, and then I'm going to start cutting the 3D for the actual blade on the top and the profile. So now it's all ground, so it's very parallel within a couple of tenths of a thou. So now it's going to stay in the vise real nice when I put it upright and start machining the 3D shape of the blade itself. So now I have it upright in both vices, and hopefully there's enough clearance here for me to cut that whole blade on 3D with, I think I'm going to use a 5/16 ball nose cutter. So I'm going to program that and then get it all set up to cut. The first rough pass there, you can see looks pretty good. So I'm going to put a finish pass on there and let it run. So now the finish pass is done, so all this top is done and the whole blade is all done. It's a lot smoother. There's just a little sliver here that I got to take off, and I'm just going to grind that off. And then I can go on to the back of the knife. So now I deburred it. I just filed it a little bit, but I still want that shape to it. So it looks pretty neat. It's crazy. So now I can get onto the back part of the blade. Set that up. And then that's it, and then we can finish it by hand. So now I have the blade in on the opposite side, and what I'm going to cut is the profile on this side and also the profile on the blade, and then I'll cut the 3D of that the blade on the front on the opposite side. So I just set in a 5/16 tool, and it's going to cut the profile on 3D here. Now I'm going to be cutting the front blade, the edges on the blade, and I'm going to do that also in 3D. front is done. And now I'm gonna do the serrations on the back, or the saw on the back of the knife. All done. Looks super cool. So now I have the knife all deburred. I sanded inside the cutouts and a little bit along the blade. What I want to do is something a little bit different. I'm going to see how it comes out. I'm going to blast. I'm going to be glass beating the whole thing. So after heat treat, I'll probably blast it again, and then just to finish it off, I'm going to grind top and bottom and then etch it and see what that looks like. Okay, let's check out what the glass bead looks like. Okay, it looks nice. So let's do some normalizing cycles in the forge, and then we can heat treat. After heat treat, it's pretty cool. You can kind of see the pattern in there. It's not too bad. It didn't warp too much, just a little bit, and I don't want to try and bend it at all. So we're going to put it back in the bead blaster, and then we're going to finish grind it and etch. So the whole point of this is because I want to have something different, or I want it to look different. So having that bead blast, hopefully it's going to make a different etch or look different than the ground etch that I'm going to have on here. So I'm going to take it to the surface grinder now and just grind top and bottom, and then I can put it in the etch. So right off the grinder, looks pretty good. Just top and bottom. So now I cleaned it with acetone and I'm going to put it in the acid etch for about 20 minutes. I'm going to put in the sulfuric acid. See it now. What it looks like. Ooh. You see that from the grinder? I never had that happen before. Can you see that? Go a little bit closer. Yeah, lines from that's very strange. And the other side doesn't look too bad. So I'm gonna have to, I think, polish it down, because that looks ugly. All right. So after the coffee etch, turned out much better. Now we don't have those lines anymore. It turned out nice. So now I want to put some paracord on the handle so you can hold it and then use it if you needed to. So I think I'm gonna use this camo paracord. I think it matches nicely with the pattern of the Damascus of this knife. So I'm gonna try and put this on here, find out some way of wrapping around the handle that looks nicely. Nice. There it is with the paracord. I think the camo looks really good on it. I can get a good grip on it. And if you need cord, you can just take it right off of here. Thank you everyone for watching Bonifabcustom as we built this awesome survival knife, and we're gonna call it the Shark Tooth. It came out amazing. Has the paracord on it, camo style, awesome. Thanks again for all your support, and don't forget to subscribe.